uh, with champions. Are you all right if we record this so that we can put it on the website so anyone that misses it can see it? If you're not, let us know. Okay, we're recording. So this is the annual general meeting. The main purpose of this meeting is for us to tell all that our levy payers who the directors currently are, and to sort of show the accounts for the previous financial year, which is 2020 to 2021. But we've got other things that we want to talk to you about, the things that we've been doing and the things we've got planned and work that's come out of the benchmarking study. So the first thing is I've got apologies from Tom Hatley, because although he's one of our directors, it's his birthday, so I let him off for good behaviour. So that's the first thing. This is our agenda for the, oh, there was an agenda there, so thanks Rochelle. So the agenda is, I'll give a bit of an introduction. We'll talk about the directors, talk about what we did last year, what we're going to do this year, talk about the benchmarking survey, make sure you know how to communicate with us, show you the financial accounts for 2020 to 21. And because that's kind of a long way in the past now, we thought it was important just to let you know we're almost at a point where we'll be doing the financial accounts for this last year, so we can kind of give you a really good snapshot of that. And then there'll be plenty of time for questions, and we'll be finished by 8 o'clock, if not before. So that's great, Rochelle. So, oh, I said apologies. So we've got Tom Hatley. And if anybody wants to read the previous minutes, well, there's nothing to read. There's a video on the BID website that you can watch. So let me just make it so I can see this. So as a bit of an introduction, I took over sort of acting as the chair of Otley BID in about August time, because Tom had done it brilliantly for a couple of years, but the needs of his business and his family sort of started to clash with the needs of the BID. So I stepped in at that point. It's been quite an interesting 12 months. There's been lockdowns, and I think lots of businesses have changed how they operate. For some, that's going to mean trying to get back to the old normal as soon as you possibly can. But other businesses have seen opportunities or realised that the old normal isn't there anymore, so they have to adapt. And Otley Business Improvement District is here to help your business to fit into that shifting town-wide pattern. I think the other thing is that the business community, as we go forward for the next 12 months, is going to experience so many unprecedented issues, and I started writing them down. There are international issues, that things like climate change. I think all of our supply chains are in a mess, to say the least, and unreliable now. Costs of everything changing, going up without much warning. So there are those international issues that must be affecting every business that we represent. There's also national issues. So the cost of living, that's going to start having an impact in how people spend and what they spend on. I still think COVID is probably having an impact to a smaller or lesser degree on many businesses, be that with staff absences or footfall, or how your business is operating, and other costs like national insurance increasing, and it feels like the sand is shifting all the time underneath our feet. And then on top of those international and national issues, there are local issues, which hopefully these are the ones that the BID can try and knock the edges off, let's put it like that. So we know we've got all sorts of transport issues and parking issues in the town, and unloading issues and things like that. We know we've got new developments coming, be they residential ones, which mean more people coming into town, which is a good thing, but it has to be managed. But also new developments of business premises as well. And on top of that, there's a picture of the Leeds City Council services that we've had for a long time, actually reducing quite a lot. And you know, they're not just picking on Otley because Otley has a bid. Their services and their budgets have just been really reduced. So things cannot and will not stay the same, and the bid will try and smooth some of the rough edges. But we can't hide from you that it's a really tough climate for business, and we're all going to have to adapt to survive. So that is my introduction. So I could have another slide. Here we go. So directors, who are we? Your team. So you've got, I'll let the people that are here introduce themselves. So you've got me, I've had Courtyard Planters for 17 years now. Before being involved in the bid, I was involved with the Chamber of Trade and Otley in Bloom. And I feel like I know the inner workings of the town and the officialdom fairly well. Sally, do you want to introduce yourself? You'll have to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I'm Sally Hinchliff. I'm from Bondgate Bakery. So we've been in town since 1984. And yeah, feel like we know the town very well. Yeah.
Lovely. And Jen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jen, and I co-manage Woolpack Studios with Richard Saby. And Woolpack has been, well, this is approaching our 11th year on Bondgate. So yeah, I wanted to get involved with the bid, kind of thinking with a view to festivals and events and, you know, the nighttime economy in Otley, and that's sort of like my interest. And yeah, working in the community with all things musical.
Lovely, thank you. And this year we've got two of our directors who've been with us for a very long time resigning, so they can do other things. So Rory, who's not with us, who was from the Ethical Jeweller, and Elspeth, who was at Newstead and Walker, and they've both been a brilliant part of the team for longer than I have, actually. So they deserve their retirement. I feel like I should have a virtual bunch of flowers to pass to both of them, because they've worked really hard for the town. So thank you very much to Elspeth and to Rory. So here we go. So we've got some other people. So the directors of the bid are not paid. They do it in an entirely voluntary capacity, but the nature of trying to represent around 500 businesses, some of those businesses are in fields that we know absolutely nothing about, means that we need a team of experts to call upon, and experts in different fields. So maybe Rochelle could introduce herself and what she does there. Oh, she can't unmute herself. Maybe Jen, can you unmute her?
There we go. Hi, I'm Rochelle. I own the Yorkshire Marketing Company based in Otley, and I've worked with the bid since its inception. So, gosh, I can't remember now, 2014, something like before its inception. So I now look after the marketing, the social media, keeping the website up to date, and all things communications.
Brilliant. Tim, can we have an introduction from you?
Yes, Tim Wilkinson, technical dunce. Is that working?
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah.
Okay, Tim Wilkinson, yes, for the last 14 years, since 2008, when we arrived in Otley, Helen and I have run Dowgall House Bed and Breakfast. We haven't reopened after COVID, and I'm not sure we will, so I may well be retired. For most of that time, I've been involved in town governance, firstly with the Chamber of Trade, which I was president in 2012, and wrote a business newsletter for 10 years, every month. And about 4 years ago, at the BID's invitation, I joined not as a director, but as a champion, to add what knowledge of the town and expertise I could offer. That is mainly in commercial property, having been a commercial property surveyor for 25 years before we decided to open the B&B. So I know quite a few people around town, and I like to think if I don't know how to fix something, I can find someone who does.
Thank you, Tim. The other two people that we call on a lot to help us are James from Enduro Communications. He runs, co-funded with Otley Town Council, he runs the Visit Otley website and the Buy in Otley website, and he is also the person who's responsible for town-wide marketing. So Rochelle does things that are more related to the bid, whereas James is the one that's kind of going out to the residents and telling them about the businesses and what they're doing. And then we've got Jan, who's our bookkeeper, and also a little Christmas elf who helps me with Christmas trees, yeah, tells me when I can spend money and when I can't. So that's the team. I'm going to pass you over to Sally now, who's going to tell you about the things that we've done in the past year.
Right. Usually, as ever, we've split things into pride, promotion, and professional. Slightly arbitrary categories, but there you go. And so, under pride, we've funded the Otley Town caretaker, the planting and watering of floral displays. We've newly put lighting on the trees in Pool Road, Bondgate and Piper Lane, and I know from being on Bondgate, it's great. The tree that's outside Christopher Little it's lovely to see. Actively removing debris from street furniture and old signage. Big shout out to Tim. That's something he didn't say he did, but he does in spades. I'm always amazed that he finds anything else to remove, but he does. We organise and co-fund the Christmas trees on the business outside of the businesses, and fund the marketplace Christmas tree. We fund the Christmas video, which is really popular, and the prize for the adventure competition. Every Christmas we've sent a newsletter to all LS21 addresses, and we are working with LCC and Otley Town Council, of course, to find solutions to improve the look of Kirkgate. A bit of a sore point with people at the moment. Yorkshire Day flags, we fund those, and we've also supported the Bay Horse Court with funding their floral displays, something which has been missed latterly, so it's nice to have that back again. And then we go on to promotion. The Visit Otley by an Otley marketing, that's very popular. One little plea to everybody: we can't put what's on in Otley if people don't tell us what's on in Otley. So do let us know what's on. Business of the Week has been a big success. James has run that, and it's had a lot of good feedback from both levy payers and people on social media, and it's meant we can promote new businesses in the town, so that's been nice. Co-funded the review of the town benchmarking survey. Katie's got a lot more to say about that further on, so I won't talk about that. We've been working with the culture and economy team in actively encouraging businesses to set up in Otley, which is always important, to try and make people see Otley as a go-to place for starting a business, and hence the creation of the Doing Business in Otley prospectus. Sponsorship for 2022 has been agreed for Otley Lido, the Coffee Festival, which is happening, Carnival, and Otley Live. And it's nice to see all these things happening again. The Summer Breeze that we fund, the summer fun on Wednesdays in the marketplace, that's throughout the school holidays, and it's really that is popular with both people and especially the retailers who are around the marketplace, and it really has encouraged a big increase in footfall on Wednesdays. Carrier bags, one of my pet projects was the two sizes of Otley paper carrier bags that we funded. The bid actually funded them totally, that we gave out to businesses. This was really popular and oversubscribed. We got rid of an awful lot, thousands and thousands of bags of various sizes. Shout out to Rochelle for her spreadsheet and help with everything, and with her helping giving them out, and also to various volunteers who helped sort them out. Hopefully, we are thinking, if people are interested, that whilst the bid can't fully continue to fully fund anything, we could buy them and sell them at cost to people. We could get little groups going of people who are wanting to buy more of these bags. And we co-funded with Otley Town Council the Otley Music Alliance banners. And then on to professional, we sponsor the Otley Business Awards, of course, and it was great to see us all in person last week. It was lovely to have it all face to face again, and it was good to see new faces and new winners. We're always reviewing town centre planning applications and supporting or objecting to LCC. We maintain an empty available premises list on the website, which is useful. One thing that we do, which is great, is offer free advice on leases and planning issues to businesses. This is a really good free way of getting advice on anything that you might be worried about, lease-wise and planning-wise. And those businesses who've taken it up have really benefited from it. So it's one of the things that we do offer that is really useful to all levy payers. All levy payers, of course, get free chamber membership. And there is a bid director at the town coordination monthly meetings to ensure that we're representing the businesses. We've been producing quarterly email letters, updates to levy payers, and more importantly, perhaps, we've got regular social media posts, sharing information and supporting events. And obviously it's the way to go is social media, because we do get a lot more feedback from that than other ways that we use. So we're always trying to keep people informed, keep businesses informed about what we're doing and what we can do for them. And so yes, I'll pass you back to Katie and Jen.
And from here, I'm going to pass you on to Jen, who's going to tell us about some of the things we've got planned for this current year.
Yes. You can all hear me okay, just checking.
Yeah.
Great. So as we've just heard, like loads of incredible things that have been going on, like lots of work behind the scenes, and also lots of work that's, you know, very visible to visitors and residents in town, and of course businesses too. So just to have a look at what is coming up. So continue with all the projects which are ongoing, which we've just been hearing about, things like all the festivals that happen in town, the coffee festival, and, you know, the carnival, Otley Live, Breeze, all these things that are happening like in the summer months, you know, which are going to attract lots of visitors to the town and also benefit our town centre businesses. Things that go on all throughout the year, of course, that bring lots of people into town and we're very proud of. Our existing trail leaflets, they go to the tourist information centres. One thing that we do is co-funding, and we're going to be re-recording 4 of our Visit Otley videos for the website. This is going to include a new nighttime video, so really promoting the great nighttime economy we have here. Obviously, in my world, that's centered largely around, you know, the music scene in town. So yeah, things that we can really promote to bring people in, see Otley as a destination town to come in the evening as well as in the daytime. That's something that we're really looking forward to promoting. Then we've got our Utley Art Trail. Definitely one for the daytime. All our lovely art installations around town that you can have a walk around. It's something free for the family to come and have a look at, and again brings people to visit us and visit all the businesses in town. When the street vision is put out for consultation, we make sure that the opinions of our businesses are heard, which is really important, that everyone gets their voice in that. One thing that's very specific for this year, but I think we should all get excited about, is the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, not only because it's a 4-day bank holiday weekend, but the town's going to look great with all the flags and, you know, all the different activities that are going to be happening in town. So, you know, really gives us a boost to be able to, you know, see all those flags flying and all the extra visitors that will hopefully come in to see our town. One thing that we have been discussing recently and we're going to be putting into action is a disability accessibility audit for businesses to complete, which we're hoping will include training, and so we can give businesses the resources to help customers and you know, visitors who may have disability and access needs. So that's things like ramps and induction loops, things like that. Making sure that we are welcoming and inclusive for everybody. And then something that we are asking for is a new voluntary directors, as we heard in the intro from Katie, taking us into our 3rd term, which will take us to 2029. And then also we've got the Otley Show marquee for the Otley Chamber of Trade as well that we're funding.
Thank you very much, Jen. Okay, right. So Jen mentioned there the Otley benchmarking survey. Rochelle and I have read this document kind of so you don't have to. We've picked out the key bits, but the benefits of this this survey is we did it in the summer and autumn of 2020, which gave us a snapshot of what the town was doing in terms of footfall and empty premises and all sorts of things that I'm going to tell you about. It gave us a snapshot of where we were at that point, and we know that that was it might have even been over a period of a lockdown. But then we've revisited it last summer and we'll revisit it next summer. And it helps us to build a picture of what's actually needed in the town. It's not just the businesses answer questions, so we get a view from them. It's also put out to residents and visitors, so we get a view from residents and visitors because they have different needs as well. And then there's some professional reporting that goes on, so like footfall counting and stuff is done by the company who create the report. It shows us where we are, where we were, and how we compare to other market towns. It actually, this the 2021 survey, which is what I'm going to talk to you about, shows a really positive picture for Otley. I think possibly that's similar to the nationwide picture, which is towns are benefiting from more home working and increased goodwill from having deliveries and things like that. And you know, businesses kind of going above and beyond during COVID. So there's quite a lot of goodwill still going on. And the flip side of that is that cities are struggling. Personally, I think the cities have had it their own way for a long time. So there's a bit of me that thinks it's our turn for a bite of the cherry, really. But we need to use this sort of impetus, I guess, and this advantage that we've currently got to our yeah, to do good stuff, really. So what were the results? Some of the key results were that over half the businesses indicated that in the next 12 months they expected their turnover to increase. That's higher than the small towns national average, and higher than the, I think that should say the Otley 2020 figure. So so business confidence is definitely increasing. Vacant units, there's been an awful lot of comings and goings, but actually where we are is, although there's been lots of comings and goings, we're kind of still in the same place in that we've not got much in the way of vacant units, and it's about the same as the small town, the national average. Business turnover. Oh, hang on, I just need to. So 79% of the businesses who responded said that they'd been based in Otley for more than 10 years. So that gives you an idea of, we've got quite a lot of businesses who've been here for a long time. Saturday is still our busiest trading day, but Friday is starting to creep back up there. So that's good. I mean, generally market days are the busiest days. We also know that over half the businesses say that their average transaction value is more than £20. We know that 82% of people, visitors, travel into the town by car. So that probably tells us something about public transport links. That is a good little bit of information when we're going to like Metro and the bus companies. If we don't want as many cars in town, we probably have to improve other ways of people travelling into town. 63% of the locals said that they visited the town centre in a morning, whereas I thought it was quite interesting that visitors tend to visit in an afternoon. So if you are a business who potentially caters to visitors, so maybe some of the cafes, the gift shop type businesses, that might be an interesting bit of information for you, because it might affect your opening hours. You might think, well, actually, I'd be better opening at 11 and staying open a bit later. But that's interesting information. The majority of locals visited Otley at least once a week. So 90% of the people who live in Otley use the Otley businesses at least once a week. So I think we're seeing there that they're not driving out or going out into Leeds or Ilkley or anywhere else. They're using services here. A really good one is that 96% of locals, and I think it was 95% of visitors, said that they would recommend visiting Otley, and that's a massive 24% higher than the national average. James is, you know, I mentioned James, who does the Visit Otley marketing. He's going to put together a press release and really sing the like the good news out of this this benchmarking survey, because it does show a business community that is doing quite well, really, and you should always celebrate the good stuff, shouldn't you? So footfall, probably not too much of a surprise, but we know that non-market day footfall is higher in the summer than it is in the autumn. So that leads us to believe that there is quite a lot of visitors who come into town as well. It's not just locals. So 75% of locals talked about cafes and restaurants being a positive aspect of the town, and 59% said on a normal trip they would visit a cafe or a restaurant. The markets were also sort of highly regarded, and that was a draw into the town. Other visitor attractions were the Chevin, the riverside, walking, cycling, boats, Gallows Hill, the market, the independent shops, the pubs and the cafes and the restaurants. So there's quite a chunk of really outdoorsy stuff there. So that tells us the sort of visitors we're attracting. So, you know, if you were thinking about what sorts of people you might adapt your business towards, you know, being cycle friendly and walker friendly and not being too proud about muddy boots and things like that will probably get you more customers. Really pleasingly, 94% of businesses reported they'd not suffered any crime over the past 12 months, and that's 21% higher than the national average. So that's really good, that Otley is a safe place to do business. We also, in this report, it's not all good news, because life never is. So there is also some things where there's some room for improvement. So on the subject of traffic and transport, 92% of locals said that traffic congestion and a reduction of traffic was sort of a key theme and something that they thought it would be better if there wasn't so much. 38% of locals reported that transport links were a negative aspect of the town, and improvements to public transport was a key theme to emerge from the visitor suggestions. So both locals and visitors say the transport links are not as good as they could be. The internet, so replicating the national trend and last year's benchmarking review, 54% classed competition from the internet as the most negative aspect of trading in Otley. So we need to kind of look at ways that businesses can, who are on the high street, I guess, how they can sort of not be threatened by the internet, or how they can stand up to the threat of the internet. When it came to inclusivity, only 10% of locals felt Otley caters for non-English speakers, and 15% people with visual impairment. So we've got a long way to go in terms of making everybody feel welcome, and I think that's quite an important thing for us to work on. The evening economy, so an improvement to the cafe and restaurant offer was cited by a number of locals, and some people also said they'd like to see an improvement in police presence. 31% of locals quoted cleanliness as a negative aspect in the town. I think that's gone up a little bit from last year. Yeah, so it's 11% higher than last year. So that's something that we need to work on, and we do have a plan in place to do that. What else have we got? So some actions that we're going to work on from this benchmarking study. First one is something that businesses might just want to sort of park in their heads, which is there are now more people working from home those home workers, they might get sick of being in their own homes. I saw today that the old Salvation Army building is turning into like an office hub, and you'll be able to rent like a boardroom and sort of renting small office space and stuff. And those home workers are probably more inclined to come into town to get their lunch, or you know, I know from my own business that there's a lot more people kind of at home, so you can take deliveries to them in the middle of the day, or you know, they can see you for client meetings if you need to do that. It used to always be on an evening or a weekend, and now they're like, oh, if you come up at 12:30, you know, I can see you for an hour because that's my lunch hour. So there are opportunities. So maybe local businesses could benefit from incentivising visits from home workers, lunch deals, provision of workspace. There's probably all sorts of ways. The Business of the Week feature, which we've talked about, so that's something that James is doing for us, where he goes and he interviews a business, finds out a bit about them, gets some nice photos. He does a reel on Instagram with, you can see there, 50,000 social media views over the first 8 weeks of the promotion. It's really getting the Visit Otley and the Buy in Otley social media is now getting a lot more sort of traction, I think you would call it, as a result of that feature. So that's a way that we're trying to help businesses compete with the internet. We're going to fund the evening economy video, and I think Jen will be involved in that because she knows more about it. And Rochelle is going to help us put together, we not just me and Rochelle, because it isn't our area of expertise, but we're going to talk to people who are experts in disability inclusivity and create an audit that we can then pass out to businesses so they can audit themselves, and then from there we can decide what businesses need to do and how we can help them do that. Lovely. Can I just, at this stage, do you mind if I just take a 2-minute break? You all right, just for a second? Thumbs up. Won't be a minute. Thank you. Shouldn't have drunk a big cup of tea before I started. Okay, so how do we communicate with you? A charge that is sometimes levelled at our gate is that we don't communicate enough. We really do try to. Our website has a host of information on it. So there's the regular updates on the news page. There's an about the bid page that has the business plans, the financial accounts, recordings of the AGMs. I go onto that quite a lot when I'm looking for information because I know it's there and it's better than rifling through bits of paper. There's a page of things that businesses can benefit from. So member discounts, vacant premises, the results of the benchmarking survey. We got asked a lot of questions about the East of Otley development when that was sort of very much in the news. So that's quite a tricky one for us from a business point of view, I guess. Most of the directors, when we talked about it, the feeling was what we felt about it as residents was different from what we felt about it as business owners. Because as business owners, we want people to live in the town and use the businesses, but we did still sort of present our opinions. We've got a what we do page, past and present projects, and a page for new businesses to access a welcome letter and key information about the bid, and then that gets them added onto the list for the database for email updates. Once you're on that, Rochelle will send out regular emails to your inbox. And if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, then you get very regular updates. So, so we do try and communicate in as many ways as we can. Right, so the summary of accounts. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to really quickly run through these, sort of pointing out things that you might go, oh, that's different. So so with regards to the turnover, you'll notice that last year's turnover was quite a bit less than the year before. It was the year that included quite a lot of COVID shutdowns and things. And when we show you next year's accounts, we've actually had more income in terms of bid levies coming in this year. So quite a few people who weren't able to pay their bills last year have actually paid them this year. So so it's kind of leveled out. So we got some other income. We got a grant from local government, central government, to help support COVID relief measures, which we used on the COVID packs, that you'll remember those coming out. Next page. So Sally talked through all the things we did under the 3 pillars of pride, promotion and professional, and this is what those things cost us. So you'll see floral displays about the same, Christmas was about the same. Last year we paid for a new mural, so that was at just over £1,000. And the caretaker, you'll remember from the benchmarking study that there was more comments about the town not looking as clean as it should do. So the role of the caretaker, I think we're looking, the caretaker was always supposed to be in addition to what Leeds City Council provided in terms of street cleaning. However, the problem is that Leeds City Council, in a blanket sort of way, have reduced street cleaning incredibly. So the question really, I think that the bid that we'll have to answer at our next directors meeting is, are we happy for the caretaker to do a little bit more to fill that gap, because it's not going to be filled any other way. It isn't that we can go to Leeds City Council and say we want more, because it's not there. So if we want our town to look nice, it might be the bid who have to support the town council co-fund the caretaker. The reason why the caretaker cost us £6,000 last year, and nothing the year before, is that sometimes we don't get the bill until the accounts have been done. So actually that 6,000 is 2 years worth of caretaker costs. Right, next page. So promotion. So there was the newsletters. We did those up to 2021, and then we did a couple, I think, last year, but now that's been superseded by the business of the week work. I mean, there is a cost to that because we have to pay James to create that, but it's not creating paper, and we're not having to pay Royal Mail for distribution. Events, we didn't spend very much on events last year because there weren't any, but we're And you can see normally we support events to the tune of about £10,000, £11,000, and we intend to go back to doing that. We think it's a really important way of getting people into the town. Advertising and marketing. So some of that is the money that we co-fund James for doing the work on the Visit Otley website. There'll be other bits in there as well. I haven't got the breakdown in front of me, but if you want to know, let me know. The benchmarking survey, the first time we paid for that was last year, so up to 2021. And promotion of Otley, the sort of advertising type stuff. Professional, so you'll see that the business awards were much cheaper last year. That's because there was no event. The awards did happen, but we didn't have to pay for an event and a speaker and food and things like that. But that will be back to normal as of this year. Chamber subscriptions. Last year, because do you remember the income was quite down on what we expected it to be. So we spoke to the chamber and said, we think we can only afford to pay you half of the subscriptions, and they agreed to that. And we keep kind of up with communications with the chamber. So depending on what projects they've got planned, I would envisage that we'd be able to go back to full subscriptions to them next year. Bid champions, so that's paying Rochelle and paying Tim. Training didn't happen last year, a bit like events, but you can see that in the previous year we spent about £2,000 on that. To be absolutely honest, I'm not sure that's going to rack up immediately. I still think people are not come, I guess, as evidenced by the number of non-bid directors at the AGM. Not very many of you. I think there's a bit of Zoom fatigue, but then equally, I think people are still a bit nervous about coming out. People have got out of the habit of coming out on an evening and things to do training. So I think it's going to take a while for that to ramp back up again. Grant funds and sponsorship, that's usually for events and things that are happening. I'm not sure what that survey was. And then COVID expenses. So you'll remember we got that money from government, and then it was almost in its entirety spent on the COVID packs. And so all of that you've just seen is money that is spent, you know, you pay your levies, and that money is spent directly on things that we hope help businesses. Maybe not everything helps every business, but generally is there to help businesses. There's a small amount each year that that we have to pay because we're a limited company, so we have various sort of fees just like any business. So we've got Jan who does some bookkeeping for us, secretarial help, just admin, but hopefully you will feel that actually keeping that to nearly £5,000 for a business of this size with this sort of turnover is fairly reasonable. Okay, what have we got here? So the other income, so that Christmas sales, that is where we, you know, when we do the Christmas trees on the front of buildings and we ask you to pay £40 towards that. So if you remember at the beginning, that project costs us about £8,000 or £9,000, and we try and recoup about half of it. That's the aim in those £40 that you pay, because not every one of our levy payers can benefit from that, because they don't all have businesses that are on the route or access to electric or whatever. So because it doesn't benefit every single business, we don't want to spend all our money on one project. I don't think there's anything else on that that's of interest. Okay, so so that was up to March 2021. So there's almost another full year. So whilst we haven't done the accounts yet for this year because they get drawn up at the end of March, we can give you a really good snapshot of where we are at the minute. So our income for this year has been just over 83,000, which each year we're supposed to get in about 72,000 from levy bills. So you can see we've actually had more income because people that were unable for whatever reason, well, from COVID, to pay their bills last year. I feel really heartened because I think what that says is that they valued what we did, and even though there was a bit of a delay on them paying, lots of those businesses got in touch and they were like, we're really struggling. But then when they were able to, they did pay those backdated bills. So that was really good. What have we been spending on so far this year? So the Pride projects have been about 13,000. The promotional stuff has been quite high because we're trying to get people to come back into the town. There's quite a few new festivals and events and things, so we are sort of trying to push those. Not too much on the professional and admin so far. Paying VAT, a bit tedious, but got to be done. So far we've spent about £58,500, and you're thinking, well, you're very close to the end of the financial year, and it's not our job to keep a load of money in the bank account. It has to, we want it to come in and then we try and spend it the same year for the benefit of the businesses. So the difference is we totted up. There's various outstanding invoices that we know are coming. So like we haven't paid for the caretaker yet this year. There's all sorts of things that we know. We've got a £6,000 cheque for the Breeze events that Leeds City Council haven't cashed yet. So there's about £22,000 of things that we either know we've got to pay, or cheques that we've written that haven't been cashed. So when that's kind of factored in, we'll have fairly closely spent what came in, and I think that's how it should be. It's not like your household finances where you're always trying to build a savings account. That isn't how the bid operates. We're there to benefit the businesses in that year. Okay, so would you like to be involved? Now here's the thing. We really need, you'll have seen that there's not very many of us as directors anymore. Many of those directors have been on board, like Sally has been on board since the first days. I'll have been kicking around for I think 8 years, and Tom a bit longer. So the few of us that are left, barring the young spirit of Jen, we've been at it for quite a long time. And the current 5-year term comes to an end in April 2024. So if you, the businesses of Otley, want to have another bid 5-year term, and believe that by putting some money into a communal pot, there are things that we can do that benefit the town and thereby benefit all of our businesses, then we really need some new directors. We've got a few people that we think, they're not here tonight, but that we think we can talk to. But we really need those directors to sign up very soon, in the next few months, really. I'll tell you the reason why we need, because you might be thinking, well, this 5-year term doesn't come to an end until April 2024. So, that's nearly 2 years away. Why are you worrying about needing new directors now? The reason is, if you work backwards, for a new 5-year term to start in April 2024, there has to be a vote, and that will happen in about November 2023. And then if you work backwards again, that vote, we can only go for that vote and expect people to vote if they know what they're voting for. So from about spring 2023, so that's so this time next year, we need to have a business plan and a plan of what the next 5 years of the bid will look like and what it will be trying to achieve. And then if we work back again, creating that business plan takes a bit of time. So actually we need to be, by autumn of this year, we need to kind of know roughly what's going to be in that plan, so that the plan can be firmed up and printed, and you know, I guess the business plan sort of really checks that it's going to work, and sort of the funding of it and things like that. So that needs to start happening in the autumn. And then if you work back again, that's only 6 months from now. So that's why I'm sort of putting a plea out to get some more directors, because most of the current directors have said that, you know, they don't want to do a 3rd term, and that's totally understandable. So we need some fresh blood, basically. It doesn't take an awful lot of time. There's a board meeting each month, and then usually what happens is, if there is an area of expertise that you have, so like Jen has kind of come on board and she knows loads of stuff about events, so that's what she is used for, because that's her sort of area of expertise. So it would be good to have representatives from the business to business community. It would be good to have people who knew a bit more about disability awareness, because we think that's going to be a big project this year. I think it's going to be good to have people who can help us navigate. I'm quite nervous about this street vision survey that is going to be put out to tender, not to tender, for consultation quite soon, because that's going to be talking about transport and parking and loading bays, and I think there's going to be a real sort of tug between what residents want and what businesses need. So I think if there's people who can sort of help us to get our point across, that would also be really good. So if you are in any way interested, email me or catch me in the street or phone me. Look, my number's there. And we'd love to have a few more directors on board. Okay, question time. So that leaves us with about half an hour if anyone has any questions. You can all unmute now. And Jen, can you stop screen sharing? Because I'd love to see everybody's lovely faces. Oh, hello, Pippa. She's muted.
Hello!
Hello. It was like a private audience we had with you.
Oh dear. Well, it sounded very, very nice, and I will report back to anybody who asks.
Excellent. They can watch it on YouTube or whatever. I think,
yes,
I'm
exactly.
just wondering, actually, because there is so few of us here, I think we need to find some other way of getting the bullet points of the AGM out. And I'm just wondering, Rochelle, because asking people to watch an hour's recording might be more than they have. I just wonder if we can send the slideshow out or something. Oh, Jen, can you unmute Rochelle?
She should be able to unmute herself, I think.
There we go.
Ah, there you are.
I've written it down already. We're obviously going to put it on the website. It'll be on social media. It'll get emailed out. But then I've written down to actually do individual posts about each.
I was just going to say, can we do bite-sized?
Yeah.
Chunks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll put the see if I can put the slides onto the website as well, and then navigate people back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, does anyone have any questions? No? Well, I will take that we all know what we're doing.
Katie, we've lived and breathed the bid for so many years now.
Yeah.
But most of us are fairly conversant with what's happening. I'm wondering why I'm so outnumbered, by the way.
You're surrounded on my screen. You're surrounded by lovely ladies.
It's not a situation I'm familiar with, to be honest.
So can I just say, as a resigning director, that what a pleasure it's been to work with you all. I've met to meet you all and actually regard you as friends as well as colleagues, and I hope we can stay in touch and not going anywhere very far. I'll still be around Otley. So.
Yeah, well, you'll still be our neighbour up at the nursery.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll be sharing our bees with you, Katie.
Yeah.
You might all even get some honey at some stage. So.
Oh, love. Well, I've had some from.
You've had some ours, yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. So,
it's not really a question I've got, but it's just an observation that I think I've made it before in the past in public forums, that Otley's quite an interesting size. The relatively small size of the town centre compared to the 15,000 people that live here makes it the sort of town where you can get to know a good proportion of the businesses, and you can get to actually make a substantial difference to the place, the appearance of the place and the tone of the place. It's quite an interesting thing, because if we were doing this in Leeds, it would be impossible.
Hi, Pippa.
Hi, Pippa. It would be impossible to ever feel that you're making a difference to anything.
Yeah.
Whereas Otley, with 350 businesses, 15,000 people, and a relatively small town centre, any business out there that wants to be involved can actually see what they're doing, can actually see a result.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I feel, because I've been doing various circuits for 17 years now, and there's things that I walk past and I go, I did that. Not on my own, but and that's a really nice feeling. I do feel I've shaped the town a little bit to be how I want it to be as a person who lives in it, so yeah, I agree, Tim. Yeah. So
I think that's a sort of message which we could do with broadcasting a little bit.
Okay. Did you absorb that, Rochelle?
I did.
Good stuff. Right. Well, I think on that note, we'll sign off for the night. And thanks, Jen, for the techie stuff, and thanks.
Oh, no worries.
For putting slides together, and thanks everyone for turning up and doing your talking, and thank you to Elsa for work so far, and we'll see you socially soon.
See you around.
Yeah, see you, Elspeth.
All right, see you all on Thursday.
Well done.
Katie.
Bye then.
Bye, thanks, Katie.
Bye.
Well done for holding the reins all year.
Yeah, well done, Katie. Go and get a cup of tea now.
I will.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.